What is jazz? I think there's a lot of confusion around what jazz is and what jazz is and what jazz isn't, right? A lot of people think it's swing, and I think that it's very correct in some ways, but there's a lot of mixtures, there's a lot of fusion, there's a lot of like subgenres of jazz. And obviously I'm not a historian, and I'm not the one to talk about it, right? I will just talk about how it sounds and what can you add to your language to sound more jazz if you don't. And if you're watching this video, it's possible you're already playing jazz. So, but yeah, the word jazz is more of a selling point. It came out more of that to describe the music from critics' point of view, hence why many jazz legends didn't actually like the word itself. And some people say jazz is freedom and improvisation, as some people say jazz is bebop language and jazz is what Charlie Parker was doing. And the big thing, what defines jazz, is the swing feel. Although, if you talk with fusion and more Brazilian jazz musicians, then it's not the swing feel, right? It's different kind of feel. So I think I'm not gonna answer that question here, and I don't think there is the answer. I think answer lies in between, and also answer lies what we believe, right? Anyhow, I think I'm gonna stop here and just talk about guitar now. So to learn jazz language, you have to listen to a lot of jazz records, and you have to transcribe and try to repeat the lines. The biggest one you are gonna have to check out is probably Charlie Parker, and many others, many long list of names, right? So the first thing how to implement jazz language is basically learning transcriptions and transcribing and listening to a lot of records, and learning Charlie Parker tunes. That's one of the stepping stones, right? But when it comes to improvisation, what I want to talk about is just a thing that when I spoke about chromatic, playing chromatic lines, I have a concept that I use, right, which is based around arpeggios and chord tones and going in and out of them chromatically. And I'll give you just a couple of exercises that might help you with that, right? So the first step is, and I'm gonna just use, any arpeggio can be used, right? And by arpeggio, I mean something like this. Maybe, right? So this is D minor. Right, D minor 7 arpeggio. So what we have, a root, D minor, you have F, so root, D, F minor third, A, 5, you have C, minor 7, and root, back to root, and repeat that again, right? So how can we use this? Say you have this chord in the song, right? And that will work at any other chord and any other, any other arpeggio. But I'm gonna just use this an example. So the first thing you want to do is go chromatically ascending. So one note before the arpeggio. Right? So I'm starting with 5. I mean, I could be starting with this. So what I'm doing is going chromatically before, and I'm doing a sliding technique, which is not necessary. You could be doing this, right? So that's basically, that's how it sounds if you go descending arpeggio going down. Right? One more time. Right. Right. Let's go. And now you can do ascending, right? So that's ascending. So you can just do this exercise and maybe do it in time. Right? And then you go descending again. So that's coming from before the note. So, right? So I'm kind of going, so this is A note. I'm going from the G sharp or A flat to that. So what if we go from other way around? So let's start from this. So let's start from A as a starting point. Right? That's going descending. Right? Right? And I'm doing hammer pull-offs, right? I mean, that's up to you what technique you want to use. That's more about a tone and what you're going for, what kind of sound, right? So that's another exercise. Let's do one that comes from one below and one from one descending, one ascending. So if we go, so you have an A note and you're going from A flat and B flat. So right, and you can keep going obviously on other arpeggios. Let's do that on some other arpeggio. For example, and that's a A7, dominant 7 arpeggio. So let's do say right. So that's using a different arpeggio. Let's go back to the D minor. And that's, again, up to you how far you want to go and what other places you want to try, right? So there are just a few examples you can use, and let's see what other you could be doing. Two ascending, two notes going up, right? So one before, right? And interestingly, I mean, it's the thing is, like, when you go two up, you actually already some of these notes are actually part of Dorian scale, which is like one of the stepping stones to improvisation. You're checking modes and which modes are good for each chord. So that's the first approach that was taught to me when I was studying about 20-ish years ago. But this chromatic thing, it gives you more of a chord tone sound, so you kind of like, you still, and you could play chord tones only for a while. So now I was already improvising around. So these exercises I gave you, right? This is just an exercise you play around, right? But when you're improvising, you know your arpeggio and you can actually move around chromatically, as long as you know where are you within the bar. So you have to know at all times where are you in the bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be exercise to always land on one for arpeggio tone or for the chord tone, right? So And this for example would be going from one to other, right? So you actually have chord tones here and you're moving between. And that's like going from, so that's part of the Dorian scale, the G, right? And going to the minor 3. So the trick is like, you know, and this is where just knowing these arpeggios around the neck and knowing these things will come to play, and it will help you to improvise. We can look at different exercises that, for example, will help you in 2-5-1. For example, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's G, 7, C, 7, MH, 7. And you have like 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I actually did, I did a sharp 5 in there, right? So, which is also an distinct sound. So, that's what goes through my mind when I play. I do know which note am I playing that is part of the chord. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually adding more of the rhythm, and that's another subject. So I'd suggest the exercise here is if you can come up with these chromatic exercises around these chord tones and around these arpeggios, and try multiple ones, try multiple arpeggios. So the step-by-step approach is obviously depending on where you are in your level, if you know the minor 7 arpeggio or not. Like if that's the new information, then obviously you have to work on that first, right? And then work out another one, right? So let's say that's another one, right? That's in starting from the root on the 6, right? 6th string. So that's the other place for that same arpeggio. So you have 2 places. You know, you can keep finding more places around the neck. That would be the next, or you can stick around 2. You know, that's quite, that can sort you out for a while actually. Next thing you want to check out is G7, not G7 specifically, but like 7 chord arpeggio. So you find those 2. Let's do G because it's 2-5-1. So let's try again. Right, that's G7 from the root on 6. And now you have, and let's try the other one. So this one, right, this one is from the root on a 5, right? So there you have 2. Next one is major 7, right? So major 7, let's start here. So that's C, because if you're thinking in key of C 2-5-1, so that's D minor, G7, and C major 7, right? So you have C major 7. That's one way, right? Fingering wise. Let's do it here. What if we do some exercises around this chord? Right? Or right? Yeah, I hope this gives you some stuff to do. Let me know how you get on, if that's helpful. Try to practice with the backing tracks or with a looper. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I appreciate the comments if you have anything to say. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.